The listing said, free couch. But when I got there, it felt like the room was waiting for me. I had just moved into my first apartment, and like most people starting out, I didn't have much. A mattress on the floor, a small table, and a couple of mismatched chairs. That was about it. So when I came across a Craigslist listing offering a free couch, it felt like a small win. The photos showed a normal grey sectional, nothing fancy, but clean, modern, and in good condition. The description was short and a little rushed. Free to first person, who can pick up tonight. It seemed simple enough. I messaged right away, and within minutes, the seller responded with an address about 30 minutes away. No small talk, no details, just the address and come soon. Something about that should have made me pause, but I needed a couch and I didn't want to miss out. By the time I got there, it was already dark. The house sat at the end of a quiet street with only a single porch light glowing. No lights in the windows, no sounds. It felt still. Before I even knocked, the front door opened. A man stood there like he'd been waiting for me. He didn't smile, didn't introduce himself, just stepped to the side and said, flatly, "It's inside." I hesitated for a second, then walked in. The couch was right there in the living room, exactly like the photos. But something immediately felt wrong. The room was completely empty. No decorations, no pictures, no TV, no lamps, nothing that made it feel like someone actually lived there. Just the couch and a single chair placed directly across from it, facing it. The man spoke from behind me, his voice calm but distant. He said he was moving out of state and couldn't take everything. It sounded rehearsed, like he'd said it 100 times. As I leaned down to check the cushions, I became aware of how close he was standing behind me. Too close. Close enough that I could feel it without even turning around. I stood up quickly and said, trying to sound casual, "I'm going to grab my friend to help me move it." There was a pause. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "That's okay. We have time." We. That word echoed in my head. I forced a small nod and started toward the front door, trying not to rush, but definitely not slowing down either. That's when I noticed the windows. Every single one of them was covered from the inside with thick black plastic, not curtains, not blinds, plastic, sealed tight, no light in, no way to see out. And then it hit me all at once. There was no other furniture in the entire house, no boxes, no signs of moving, no personal belongings, just the couch and the chair, facing it. I felt a chill run through me as I reached the door. I muttered something about coming back with help and stepped outside into the night air. He didn't try to stop me, didn't argue. He just stood there, watching me leave. I got into my car, locked the doors immediately, and drove away faster than I probably should have. When I got home, I checked the listing again. It was gone, deleted within an hour. Weeks later, I was scrolling again, and my heart nearly stopped. I saw the exact same couch, same photos, same description, but this time, it was listed in a different city. Online listings promise convenience, speed, anonymity. But sometimes anonymity protects the wrong person. Subscribe to Nightmare Central, because the next Craigslist meeting didn't just feel uncomfortable. It felt planned. Nightmare 2. I needed a cheap place fast. My lease had ended suddenly, and everything available in my area was way outside my budget. After 2 days of searching, I found a Craigslist listing that seemed almost too perfect. Private basement apartment, quiet neighborhood, utilities included. The rent was nearly half the average price. The man who posted the listing responded quickly. He said he preferred texting rather than calling, which I didn't think much about at the time. When I arrived to see the place, he was already waiting outside, mid-40s, polite, soft-spoken, the kind of person you wouldn't think twice about passing in a grocery store. The basement itself seemed normal. A bed, small kitchen area, bathroom, no windows except one small ground-level opening near the ceiling. He explained the previous tenant had moved suddenly due to work relocation. I signed the agreement that same day. The first night felt quiet, almost too quiet. No outside noise, no traffic sounds, no voices from upstairs, just silence. Around 2 a.m. I heard something faint, a soft tapping sound. 3 taps, pause, 3 taps again. It was coming from behind the wall near the bed. At first, I assumed pipes, but the tapping repeated the next night, and the night after, always in sets of 3. I finally texted the landlord and asked if there were plumbing issues. He replied almost immediately, "No one else has ever mentioned hearing anything." That wording bothered me. No one else had ever mentioned, not "there is no sound." The following evening, while unpacking boxes, I noticed something strange behind the dresser. A small, square outline in the drywall, perfectly cut. When I pushed gently, the panel shifted inward slightly. Behind it was a narrow cavity, just large enough to see into the space between walls. And inside, I saw something metallic reflecting my phone light. A small camera lens, pointed directly toward the bed. I moved out the same night. The listing disappeared by morning, but every time I see a rental that seems too good to be true, I remember how easily a stranger can watch without ever being seen. Most online transactions are harmless, but sometimes the listing isn't really about the item at all. And the final story shows how a simple job post can become something far darker. Nightmare 3. I found the job listing late at night while mindlessly scrolling through Craigslist, the way you do when you're tired but not quite ready to sleep. It immediately caught my attention. Personal assistant needed, flexible hours, excellent pay. That alone was enough to make me stop. But when I opened the listing, it got even better. The description was simple, almost too simple. It mentioned organizing files, scheduling appointments, and running occasional errands. Nothing complicated, nothing out of the ordinary. And then I saw the pay. It was nearly double what I was making at the time. That's when logic started to take a backseat to curiosity. I told myself maybe it was a busy executive, someone who just needed reliable help and was willing to pay for it. So I emailed my resume. I didn't expect to hear back right away. It was late after all. But less than 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A response. Short, direct, asking if I could meet the next day. That should have been my first red flag, but instead, I felt excited. The email included an address in a downtown office building, a real one I recognized. That made it feel legitimate, safe. The next day, I got there a few minutes early. As I walked into the lobby, I glanced at the building directory to find the company name. It wasn't listed. I paused for a moment, scanning it again, just to be sure. Nothing. I told myself maybe they were new. Maybe they hadn't updated the directory yet. That explanation was just enough to keep me moving. I took the elevator up to the suite number from the email. When the doors opened, I found the office easily, but something felt off immediately. The space looked temporary, like it had just been rented. Inside, there was barely anything. A desk, 2 chairs, no decorations, no paperwork, no computers, no signs of actual work happening there. Still, I had come this far. A man greeted me as I stepped in. He was polite, calm, well-spoken, normal. At first, the interview started like any other. He asked about my experience, my availability, my past jobs. But then the questions started to shift. Subtle at first. He asked what time I usually woke up, then what grocery stores I preferred, then whether I lived alone, what time I typically got home from work, where I liked to go on weekends. It felt strange, but not strange enough in the moment to walk out. I told myself he was trying to understand my schedule, my flexibility. At least, that's what I wanted to believe. The entire time, he didn't write anything down. He just listened, watched. At the end of the interview, he smiled and said, "You're exactly what I'm looking for." And just like that, he offered me the job, on the spot. No background check, no paperwork, no second interview. He said training would start the following week and that I'd receive more details by email. I left feeling a mix of excitement and something I couldn't quite explain. That night, the email came through. It included a document labeled Weekly Schedule Template. I opened it, expecting a blank planner or onboarding material, but it wasn't blank. The schedule was already filled in. At first, I thought it was an example, until I started reading more closely. It listed a morning commute time that matched mine exactly, a lunch break window down to the usual time I stepped out, the exact time I typically got home, places I visited regularly, even my gym. My stomach dropped, because I'd never told him any of that, not in the interview, not in my resume, not anywhere. I kept scrolling. At the bottom of the document was a single line. "This helps me understand your patterns." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I closed the document, and I never responded. 2 days later, I checked Craigslist again. The job posting was gone, deleted. I tried replying to the email again, just to see. The account no longer existed. A week later, I went back to that office building. I don't even know why. Maybe I needed to prove to myself that it had all been real. But when I got to the suite, it was empty, completely empty. No desk, no chairs, no sign anyone had ever been there. No business name, no company record, just a vacant room. Sometimes I still think about that document, about how much he already knew, and I can't help but wonder, how long had he been collecting that information? And how many other people received the same job offer? Something even scarier than this nightmare is not watching more videos from Nightmare Central. This